child obesity. This is a topic of discussion that we at the Elite Thinking Club need to explore tonight. So if it's something that you agree with, comment, let us know. And yeah, everyone everywhere, let us know what you think. Right. So guys, before I go any further, obviously we have to do this, right? You cannot change anything unless you're willing to understand it. You cannot understand it unless you're willing to explore it. A good debate doesn't get ugly. We may talk of things that make people feel vulnerable. Beliefs held sacred may be challenged because of life experiences, but we're not trying to make people wrong or to incite a riot, but simply explore. So welcome to the Elite Thinking Club. And before I go any further, I just want to acknowledge my co-hosts, Liz, Mads, Mike. You all right, guys?
Hi, guys.
Cool. Right. Child obesity. Now, I made a post on this on my TikTok, yeah, and someone said, say something that you know you're going to get a lot of hate for, but you just feel like it has to be said. And I said, right, child obesity, I believe, should be punishable. I think the parents should be accountable because grown-ups, carers, parents, adults should know better. The child is innocent, right? They don't know what they're consuming. They're just going to eat whatever you put in front of them. So if, for example, you're breeding a person that's going to have real like health issues later on down the line, you should be held accountable for that. In actual fact, I think that individual, once they become a grown-up or a person of age that is classed as an adult, they should be able to sue you because you literally fed them to the point where they're now obese. So they've got all these health issues. And yeah, I put it on my TikTok and people were liking it and people had a lot to say about it. And I thought we have got to do an episode on this. So, you know, guys, what's your take on that? Like,
Okay, well, my take on it is that if there is a child that is malnourished, then child services would get involved because that's a form of abuse. So I feel like child obesity is the other end of the spectrum, but it's still a form of abuse because it's affecting the child's health. However, I have to say that I personally believe that, yes, I agree with you, Jules, with regards to the child doesn't have a choice. What they're given in front of them, they're going to obviously eat. However, I do think that this subject it's one that can't really be generalized because there's a lot of factors that I think that cause and affect this. That can be generational, educational, economical. So, you know, I know a lot of the obese children that are found in families tend to come from lower income families. So, you know, those families may come from a generation of people who were overweight themselves. So their parents, so it's like a vicious cycle, if that makes sense. So and you know, they may think that they can afford to go to the shop and buy processed food, you know, just oven chips and pizzas and burgers and what have you, and therefore their children aren't actually getting organic, or not even organic, but fresh home cooked food, because they are getting processed food, which is obviously not good for their health. So, but also those parents might not be able to know how to cook certain recipes. They may not know because they weren't taught themselves. They've come from a low income family, educational. So there's a lot of factors there, but I, as a parent myself, no matter what, I personally could not be responsible for making my children unhealthy.
That's interesting. And if you're watching right now and you've literally just joined us and you've got something to say on this, hit the comments, right? Let us know what you think about this. Liz, really appreciate that. And you did cover a lot.
The other thing I wanted to say was also it can be a psychological thing. So if the child is living in like a dysfunctional family, or if the child is being bullied, or so children and teenagers tend to do emotional eating, where there's like, that's where eating disorders come from. So where they may get bulimia and anorexia, the other end of the spectrum is overeating, the emotional eating. So that might be where they're sneaking the food and actually the parents may not be aware. So that's where it's a little
the parents are unaware that the child is getting larger.
No, I don't mean they're unaware of their child getting larger, but they might be unaware of their child's eating habits.
All right, fair enough. Good point, Liz. Okay, cool. We'll take all that on. Michael.
Yeah, well, I agree with pretty much everything Liz just said. I mean, it is very hard. I mean, when you talk about trying to maybe fine or criminalize the parents, it's very hard to be able to do that because of metabolisms. Because if you have two kids and you're feeding them the same things, when they go out to play or the metabolisms, it's going to act different. So then what you've got to then do is feed them different things so that, but if you've got a parent that is working, it's hard to feed your kids different things every single day. Like my childhood, I had a druggy mum, basically, and my dad was raising 7 kids. Yeah. So with my mum, I could literally eat anything I wanted to, because if she didn't feed me it, I just was a nuisance. I was a little arsehole, basically, if I didn't get food I wanted. So, forget the fact that she was a crackhead. If I got fat because of it, is that really her fault when I turn into a little demon when I don't get stuff? Similarly, when I'm with my dad, I had to eat what he put down on the table. If I didn't like it, I didn't eat. But then you go into the other grounds of, so let's think about that, yeah? So if he puts the best food in front of me, but because I don't like it, I don't eat it, is he then going to get done because I'm not eating? He's doing the best he can, and yet I'm not getting the nutrients I need from that. So then I might go off and buy a crap at a shop. And there is people that secret eat. There is kids that secret eat. And the parent might be going, why? Why are they getting fat? They're not with their kid every single day. And I don't think they put cameras in their bedrooms to see what they're eating. So it's going to cost. Does the cost of trying to find these people and trying to criminalize these people outweigh the cost it's going to cost to sort these chubbier people out?
Okay. Mads. Michael, wait. Sorry, Michael, very well put forward. I love it. Liz, Michael, very well put forward. I absolutely love it. If you're just tuning in right now, guys, we are literally debating child obesity and should parents be held accountable? If a child grows up to be obese and, gets into an age of adulthood, should they be allowed to sue their parents? Because ultimately, the parents allowed for their child to become obese. Now, we are literally covering all aspects of this. So hit the comments, let us know what you think. And yeah, hit the subscribe button as well. Mads, what's your take on this?
So I think that there are some circumstantial, but I know that there are some disabilities, medical conditions, illnesses that can cause obesity and significant weight gain. Like, for example, my cousin, she has something called PWS, Prader-Willi syndrome, and with that you have it's like a gene disorder where your brain literally doesn't have the ability to recognize when you're full. So imagine being the doctors describe, there's a few documentaries and stuff that I've seen on it before, and the doctors describe it as, imagine not eating for 3 days, the hunger that you would feel. Someone with one of these conditions feel that hungry all the time, and they are literally ravenous for food, and they will eat whatever they can get their hands on. And sometimes they're literally scavenge in bins, or will eat the animal food when the parents aren't around. And there are parents that will literally put cameras in the kitchens, alarms on fridges and things like that, just to try and stop them. But they can't, they cannot be, like Liz was saying with the secret eating, they can't really be watching them 24/7. So, and that's just one of them. That's just an example. There are lots of medical conditions that cause that. It's literally just a gene malfunction. And
can I just say about the medical thing as well? That was one thing I didn't mention, but personal experience on that. My daughter actually takes medication every night. Because when she was born, she was premature and her lungs weren't fully formed. So she had to have steroid injections, and she has to take a tablet for the rest of her life so that she can sleep properly at night. And part of the ingredients in this tablet that she takes, it actually makes her want to eat more. So, but luckily I'm conscious of that. So I make sure that I pretty much 99% of the time, my kids have home cooked healthy food, and they eat a lot of the veggie food as well. However, as she's now sort of she's 11 this year, I've started to see how she has filled out a bit more. So I'm making sure that she's more active. She's getting out, you know, she's always come running and stuff with me and goes on her bike. But, you know, I'm just conscious of it. And I, as a parent, am responsible for making sure that doesn't balloon. Yeah. And that doesn't get, and I'm aware of that, because also I don't want her to get bullied or, you know, she's mentioned it herself as well. She's now getting self-conscious. So yeah.
Amazing. So that's the point that's the point that I was going to raise with regards to being a parent. It's obviously the hardest role on the planet. Let's not play games. It is a very, very difficult role. However, it's the role that you have put into your life. Therefore, you should be held accountable, because that is your responsibility. Mads, would you finish saying what you were saying?
Sorry.
So, and that's okay. So yeah, my cousin, she's always been big, like for as long as I can remember, she's been massive. And now she lives in a care home where she has to be monitored, basically, on like a special diet, without access to food at any other times, apart from like breakfast, lunch, dinner. But also, in addition to wanting to feel hungry all the time, their body will only burn about 500, 600, 700, 800 calories a day, which is less than half of what we can eat, you and I. So that not only are they hungry all the time, but they also don't have the capacity to be able to eat as much food or burn as much food as we can. So which makes it very, very difficult for the parents, especially when that person has a disability. They've got no sense of logic or reason, and you can't reason with them. Like, you can't control their tantrums sometimes. So I do think that a lot of the time we could come from a judgmental place without really fully knowing the reasons behind it, and it could be a disability or a medical.
Right. Everything all you guys said, right, is so relevant, and I understand the argument so much that we cannot start penalizing people when there are some things that are out of their control. My argument is, though, there is things that are in your control as a parent. So you guys know I'm not a parent yet. I don't have kids of my own, but I spent a good year working in a care home with these, you know, underprivileged children. And one thing that I found within the staff was there are some that were willing to do what needed to be done, and there were some that didn't think it needed to be done. There was a young lady that was extremely overweight that we were caring for. As our responsibility, literally, we should be held accountable for this girl, because we're feeding her. We're the ones that put the food on the table. I said to them when I went straight into that home from the go, portion management is our responsibility. I wanted to go in there and change a few things, but I had to try and convince so many people in that home that they had to get with the program. We are literally allowing her to eat herself to a very bad state, right? People wanted to do it, but we had to lead by creed and deed. That's how I literally live for the young people. They're not going to do what I tell them. They're going to have to do what I show them. And that brings me on to parenting. A lot of parents, like Liz mentioned earlier, probably don't know no better, probably are uneducated, probably don't take their role as seriously as they should. And that's why I believe there should be some level of punishment, some sort of accountability here. Like, it ain't good enough that you are given this role, or say given this role by the grace of God. You know, you had sex and you have a child now, and then just like think it's not as serious as it actually is. Here's the next part of it, and I'm going to ask all of you. Why is obesity in young people, in children, increasing every single year? So let's take it back 60 years. Was there obese people? And don't tell me about food shortages. Back then, food was better in nutritional value than it is now. So they weren't. Go on, Liz.
I think it's increasing every year because of, one, I think children have far too much access and are exposed to processed goods, sugared goods. There's so much more available, and they are able to access them without their parents around more now than when maybe we were younger or the generation before us were younger. I get infuriated sometimes because I will go to the park with my children and I will see children, other people's children, my children's age and younger, with bottles of Coke. And I'm sitting there thinking, And these children, to be fair, are probably double the size they should be. And I'm sitting there thinking, why don't they have a bottle of water in their hand? Why has their parent given them full fat Coke? And I think kids don't need Coke, but that's just me personally. And my kids will say to me, they're allowed Coke, why aren't we allowed Coke? And I'm thinking, you're not allowed Coke so that you don't look like that. That's why. And that's,
and there's nothing
horrible,
wrong. There's nothing wrong with saying that. No, it's legit.
The truth. And sometimes and then even when I drop my kids off at school, okay, there's 11, 12, 13-year-olds heading up to the high school. They go into the shop, their parents aren't around. They come out with bags of crisps, 2 or 3 chocolate bars, big bottle of Pepsi or Coke.
So, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo recently, well, it was a couple of weeks ago that it, you know, kind of blew up and Coke stocks dropped.
4 million, wasn't it?
The value of Coke dropped, simply because Ronaldo in a live interview said, I'm not representing Coca-Cola, and he even held up the water. Now, this guy is in a position where he influences enough people that Coca-Cola lose 4 million. Good. Now, I'm not saying it like, you know, he lead by creed and deed. This man inspires so many younger generations that, tell them, don't drink that shit, drink water. And, you know, it's, I guess, again, back to the argument, you can't keep your eye on the children all the time. So why not then implement something like when they go into the shops, like you can't buy alcohol under a certain age. Why are we not doing that on certain products?
Because
like children should only have access to, let's say, fruit and vegetables in the shop rather than, you know, Wonka bars.
I agree.
Michael,
and
I know
also,
you want to say, oh, sorry.
Going back to that Ronaldo thing, I think he did that as well, because I heard that he was addicted to fizzy drinks as a kid.
There you go.
He's actually quite against it. So that's why, Anyway, sorry, Michael.
We'll start off with that one now. It weren't 4 million, it's 4 billion.
Billion, sorry, 4 billion,
Billion. It was a little bit different.
4 billion.
Because of someone's belief. But, I mean, I'm against that more because they are paid a lot of money to be there. Coca-Cola's paid a lot of money to have that there. So if he doesn't like that there, he should have spoken to the people first and said, get rid of it. Not cost a company £4 billion.
But he could have done, and they may have said, no, it's staying.
I mean, I might be wrong with that, but that's where the facts I've seen on telly, that's what I do like. But anyway, going back to what our discussion is. So I think kids nowadays are more obese because, one, from what I can see of kids nowadays, they're a lot less active than what we were when we were kids. I was always running about doing stuff. I barely had a bicycle. I was always running, always. But then the other side of it is, it's hard for parents. I think it's hard for parents now because healthy stuff is too expensive. And if you want a kid to shut up and go away because they're busy doing their own stuff, you give them money. But then if you don't give them money, then I'm not getting what I need from my parent. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to do that sort of stuff. So I think it's most less active kids, and bad stuff is too easy to get.
Okay. Mads, what's your take on that? Why are the levels of obesity increasing every year in younger generations?
God knows. I mean, what are the facts? I mean, surely there's got to be some statistics on that now.
I think the active thing is right as well. I think there's a lot of games and stuff, you know, kids are going upstairs on their games and things like that.
Because lockdown didn't help.
No, lockdown. And also, again, the mental health, that is an aspect of it with the emotional eating, you know, and if you've got kids that have learning difficulties and, you know, the stress of school, or if they're being bullied, all sorts of factors really. But yeah, and I do think as well, education and income are a massive thing. You know, I didn't learn how to cook through my mother. I've learned more about food as an adult than as a youngster. So, and that's my choice to do that. But not everybody would necessarily think that way or, you know, be that way. So it's really hard. And the kids know no better. The kids are brought into that household and brought up in that household. So they think that's normal to be like that. And sometimes if their mums and dads are big as well, that's all they've ever known, isn't it? So they have had that kind of normalized to them because do you know what I mean?
When I put the post on TikTok, I even said it isn't like you didn't know. Doctors definitely tell people you are obese. You are literally very, very borderline going to die young if you don't sort it out. And these people, as if the threat isn't there. You mean didn't
they used to weigh kids in school, and then there was like an uproar, and now they're talking because of what you're saying, Jules. They're now actually talking about bringing that back.
Weighing in schools, yeah, they are.
Weighing in schools, they want to bring it back in because of the amount of children that are overweight for their age.
Yeah, for real. And the thing is, it isn't confusing. Like, kids are going to be kids, right? They're going to do and say what kids do and say. But parents should be held accountable. If your child's coming home and saying, I'm getting bullied because of my weight, that must be heartbreaking for a parent. Must be. And it's just like, but, you know, what are we doing that isn't working? And I'm not generalizing here. It's just specific. You've got to learn your kid. You've got to learn it all. You've got to know what's going on. You know, there's a lot to it. And I'm not going to pretend that, you know, I know everything, because I don't. I'm not even going to come on here and act like it's just an observation of mine. I think obesity in children's flipping wrong. I think it's abuse. I actually think it's abuse. I think you should be getting a grip of yourself, and, you know, you're basically breeding another person. You're supposed to be responsible for this person, and then you're leading them down a path where they're going to become addicted to the wrong things, and they're going to be in an early coffin. Anyway, comments. Any comments?
Yeah, there are.
Go on, Mads. What are we hearing? What are we saying? What's people
It's the
thinking?
same as if you see a child that is malnourished and literally you can see their ribs and they're literally starving, you would think, what the hell is that parent doing? Wouldn't you? And it's the same as if you see a child, you know, a parent with a child that is majorly obese, you're going to think, what are you doing? It's the same form of abuse. It's just the other end of the spectrum.
Totally. I agree with that also. Right. What's our audience saying? What's people saying? Mads?
Michael made the man.
Oh, Michael, you want to? Yeah, Michael, hit the comments. What are people saying?
Well, a lot of them I've been replying to, but I will say it. So when I was talking about people not being active, Christine Wilson said she thinks computer games and Xboxes have a huge impact on it. Kids don't go out and run about like they used to do. Talking about the weighing people in, it's they still do it, but it's worked out with BMI. Which is outdated method, says Haley. Which I agree with that. The BMI is completely
BMI does not. Yeah, it's
flawed. It's flawed.
It's just basic. It's so basic. It's like that doesn't make. Yeah, go on.
You look at a bodybuilder. From a bodybuilder's BMI, they can be morbidly obese, but then you look at them and they'll be one of the healthiest people you could ever meet. She also says they need. Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm massive, right?
Yeah, but what's your BMI? Do you know?
I'm healthy. I'm all over.
No, I'm not saying you're not healthy, but what would your BMI say?
I think that my BMI would be in the green. Like, it'd be okay because of my height by weight, height, and waistline. Right? That's what BMI is.
Yeah, well, it doesn't take into account your waist.
It's your height. Age as well.
Yeah,
no, it's height, weight, and waist circumference.
Well, I've never put in waist circumference when I've done a BMI.
Mine's just under.
Maybe that's gone now.
I'm supposed to be, I think, 1.5 stone more than what I am, which I don't think so, because then I would feel overweight. But
we don't even have to go into that much detail. You should be able to look at a person and just think, yeah, you need to sort it out. Done.
You need to sort it out.
Like, as adults, do what you want. So if you haven't seen my post already, my post highlights. If you're an adult or a grown up and you want to do what you want to do to your body, you go ahead. But the child doesn't know no different.
Yeah, that's correct.
For them. So if you want to go ahead and eat crap and live a lifestyle that serves you, if that's what the lifestyle you want to live, I'm not here to judge you. flipping hell. Please don't think I'm coming on here and I'm trying to curse everybody that chooses their different types of lifestyle. No, that is not what I'm doing. What I am doing, though, is I stand very firm on this. If your child is obese, that is your responsibility and you should be held accountable for that. That's my take on it, because the child's innocent and it's child abuse in my view on it. So
anyway, going back to it, Haley said they need proper nutritionalists to work with schools and parents. Education is key. Yeah, I think they should. If the parents don't know it, they need the knowledge to be able to sort it out. She said her son at school measurement and was told he was obese at the age of 6. He works out daily, he has very much to build and can't pinch any fat on his body at all. This is also dangerous and can trigger more problems, which, yeah, it can, because then you might get into being bulimic and all that sort of stuff because of a outdated measurement has told you you're too big. Yeah, but thank you for
it's crazy.
Yeah, we appreciate the comments, guys. Appreciate the comments. Go on, Mads. Sorry.
The media today are kind of condoning obesity and being overweight as well, because there's that whole movement, isn't there, of like which is just going a little bit beyond where it was supposed to go. So it's supposed to be like normalize normal bodies, which is fine. Like, you know, a little bit overweight, maybe some cellulite and stuff, but it's now getting to the point where there's a lot of like plus size influencers who are basically saying it's fine to be that big. And then they're like, exercise what? I'm not exercising. And they're influencers, you know.
So I think there's a fine line, because I think that, you know, we should promote positive body image and basically promote to children, promote to our friends, promote to everybody. You should be happy within yourself. But I also think there is going across that line with regards to promoting unhealthy, you know, an unhealthy way and an unhealthy way of living and being, because you can't tell me that those people, those influencers you're talking about, Mads, eat a relatively majorly healthy diet and exercise regularly to maintain that size. You know,
right. I just want to cover this. When you look at an individual, you can already feel the habits that they have in their lives, from the way they speak, from the way they look, from the way they present themselves. You can already start to evaluate habits. If someone that is supposed to be an influencer, they should be influencing exactly what it is, and that is the habits and lifestyle they choose to live. There is a massive difference between being a curvy person and just being a fat person. Like, I'm not trying to pretend here. There is a massive difference between being lean and being skinny and being like anorexic. Massive difference.
Yeah.
Like, oh my Lord. That is a whole nother episode in itself. We should definitely cover that as an episode, because you're right, Mads, and I'm in agreement with you. I feel like it's getting a little bit out of hand. People are seeing an opportunity to just not care, but then make it out like it's okay. And it's like, it isn't okay, because we pay money for you to get fixed later on down the line, because you know what I mean? Because whole nother episode in itself.
And they're both like size 18, 20, 22. And they joke about it, and they're like, oh, you know, like, I found it quite entertaining watching them, but I know I'm not going to get like that. And like the minute my clothes start to get a bit tight, I'm going to start to think about my exercise and what I'm eating. But people who are young and follow these kinds of people, they're you know, they're openly eating these shit meals like all the time, fast food all the time, and saying like, exercise, who needs exercise? I'm quite happy being overweight, because after all, we're normalizing normal bodies. And
normalizing normal bodies, it isn't normal.
It's not.
Yeah.
Back in the day, years and years ago, we were never that big. It was very rare to be that big. Very rare.
Right, we're definitely not wanting to start to, if you will, cast shade on people and body shaming. We're not here doing that. I'm not having it on the podcast. We're not body shaming. I'm not having that. But what I am highlighting is a simple fact that there is a massive difference between someone who weighs more because they are big, but they still go to the gym, exercise, have a healthy, balanced lifestyle, but just weigh more, than someone who just does not and is fat, but is trying to say, I'm not ashamed of it. What message are you giving to the younger generations? That's the point of this whole part of the episode. definitely worth another chat. And if you're listening in right now and you've got something to say about it, say something about it. Like, we would love to hear, because we're here to explore. We are here to explore. We don't know everything. No one knows everything, but it's worth exploring. Okay, cool. So that was the first half of the episode. If you're watching right now, then you know what you got to do. You got to hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, share, comment, let us know what you think. And also, as well, if you are a big fan of the Elite Thinking Club, then take a look at Michael's hoodie right now. Everyone, look at this. Look at that. Couldn't ask for a better model. Look at that.
I want one.
Mine hasn't been delivered yet.
Loving it, loving it. So,
Did you
the
buy
Elite
one?
Thinking Club hoodies. Get yourselves one. Click the link. We'll put it in the description there. Click, buy, and wear with pride. Love
You can
that.
have our faces on you.
Loving it.
You can go to bed with all of us.
Oh,
Not in that way, just in there.
oh yeah.
We get
Your
what you
vibe.
meant, Michael. We get what you meant. Right then. Okay. Moving on the next half of the episode, okay? We are going to be talking about something that mainstream media are, for some reason, not showing on their newspapers, on the, mainstream media. And it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed. So there has been freedom marches happening ever since, well, the beginning of COVID, to be fair. It started off small and now it's massive. I mean, we're getting 2 million people meeting up and marching through the streets of London. And last one that happened was on the 26th of June?
20...
Get
yes,
me right.
It was the
26th of June.
Yep.
Liz was there. I went to Hyde Park and saw everybody there. It was amazing. Okay. Absolutely amazing. Now I'm going to the next one, which is on the 24th of July. So if you want to see me there, drop me a message. I'll probably meet you there. Liz, you going to the next one as well?
Yep. You know I will.
Liz has been to all of them. So yeah, Liz, I want you to lead this one. Freedom marches. So what is it? Is it anti-vaccine? Is it anti-mask? Like, why is there 2 million people, by the way, which is, by the way, one of the biggest protests in recorded history?
It was the biggest in history, and prior to that, May the 29th was as well. Yeah,
right.
The
and
biggest one in history.
Mainstream media are not covering it. So go on, Liz, elaborate on this.
Okay, so basically, a lot of people say that these marches are anti-vaxxers, anti-masks. It's not. I wouldn't even class people who are critical thinkers and question it and who have looked into the facts and figures anti anything. The one thing I would say that they all collectively are agreeing on is they are anti-lockdown and they are pro-freedom, pro-choice, and pro our human rights. So they are marching so that we do not lose our freedom, liberty, independence, and our human rights, that we don't even need a Human Rights Act to give us. We have our human rights from the moment we are born. We don't need the UN to say we've created a Human Rights Act, and under this act you are, eligible for this. No, we don't need any act to say we have human rights. We have human rights as humans. So people are marching so that we are not going to lose our freedoms and lose what we have always known and had as independence and choice and consent and informed consent. So people are marching because they have had enough. And they're saying enough is enough. We take back our freedom. And they are marching because they are aware that lockdown does not work. It has caused more damage to the economy, more damage to people's mental health, more damage to people's lives in general, more damage to the NHS because they now have a backlog, a waiting list of nearly over 12 million people waiting for treatment and operations and God knows what. So yeah, it's a lot that they're marching for, and predominantly a lot of the people that I've met on them are marching for our children, for the future generation, to make sure that the government don't come for our children, and that we stand up, and we are standing up so that we can protect them.
Right. And we talked about this behind the scenes, and I'm not, viewers, we'll try and cover as much as we can on these live episodes, but we all have a chat behind the scenes every now and then. And one of the things that we talked about was mission creep. And I think we did mention it in an episode before. You have to check me on that. Check previous.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, mission creep was like implemented by Nazis in Germany to enslave the Jews. And this isn't something that happened with the click of a finger. This was like put in place with years of planning, so that every few 3 months or something, another freedom was taken away, and another law was in place, and another freedom was taken away. They literally broke the Jews down. So then by the time a year turned around, or a year and a half turned around, the Jews were like, what the fuck's going on? Like, how has this happened? And the worst thing about it was people were so conformed to it. People were so okay with it. Every 3 months, new things coming in and changing. Their lifestyles were like set up now so that they couldn't even go against it. And that's what I know 2 million people know when they're marching through the streets of London. Now, me personally, you know, I'm anti-mask now. I can't have it. I have such a pretty face. It is a crime not to show the rest of the world.
I haven't worn one, and I won't, because there's no study that has proven that they work. In fact, there's more studies that have been done that prove that they don't work. So therefore, I will not risk my health by masking myself up for the sake of social stigma, brainwashed people, and for somebody else's health. I'm responsible for my health and my children's health, you know. And it's funny, actually, I know we were just talking about obesity and we're talking about something completely different now. However, the two kind of combined in what I'm about to say. I had an incident where I went into a shop, and a guy who was about 30 stone, who was wearing a mask, sort of shunned me and was like, oh, because I didn't have a mask on. And in his trolley, he had all processed food, all bags of Doritos, chocolate bars, Pepsi Max, the lot. And I thought to myself, you have not got to worry about me. I'm not going to do anything bad to your health. You're doing it to yourself. And that, you know, anyway.
Very valid. It's valid.
So, you know, and that's where I just think when people are funny about it, I'm like, you seriously need to, first of all, educate yourself on what's going on here, and, you know, get a grip of the situation. And it's really hard to tell people to get a grip in this situation. I think a lot of people now that are marching as well have had enough. They may have been conditioned into this, but too much time has gone on now. There's been too much contradiction, too much hypocrisy with Wimbledon, Ascot, you know, Wembley, 60,000 people. The two future kings of our country were at, you know, a live football match in Wembley with thousands of other people when there's such a contagious, deadly disease about. Do you think they'd really be allowed out of the palace, out of their homes, if it was that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the hypocrisy and the double standards, to, you know, first and foremost, there's double standards. And yeah, we definitely need to start waking up. So sometimes we can't tell people, we lead by creed and deed. That's all we can do. Yes. Just show people, get yourself
and
to
unfortunately, people have to unlearn what they've been so conditioned and programmed by their TVs, by adverts, by games, what have you. We are programmed and conditioned from a very young age. You know, even at school, we are sort of, our minds are dumbed down, and, you know, to follow the narrative. So unfortunately, I don't judge people who don't understand or can't see. I just can see that the power of the conditioning of their mind. And it's so sad. It's so sad. Yes. However, there's millions of people that are awake to it, and there's more and more day by day waking up to it, purely because of the contradictory, you know, the hypocrisy, you know, the whole Matt Hancock thing. Yeah, don't hug your granny, but I'll have me old mate in the cupboard.
Activism.
Yeah.
Michael, Mads, guys, obviously me and Liz just took a lot of time there expressing how we feel about it, but how do you guys feel about the freedom marches?
Freedom marches, protesting in general, I am behind totally. Whether you're wrong or right, a protest is 100% right. As long as it don't turn into a riot where people get unnecessarily hurt, where businesses get burnt down, which is when we talk about our facts on it. Yeah, I will bring up some of these things.
Let me just
But-
one sec, Michael. Yeah, just so you know, guys, Michael just said what he said because we are doing a double episode tonight, and we are going to continue this debate with 2 new subjects over on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't done so already, click the link in our description, hit the subscribe, because we're going to go straight into a live after this episode on YouTube to cover exactly what Michael was just talking about right now. So I love that, Michael. Good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm pro protest as long as, like I said, it doesn't turn into violence. And
Peaceful protesting.
yeah, peaceful protest I'm all for, whether it's 10 people are doing it or 10 million people. If you feel that way, then go do it. I don't agree with human rights not being a thing, because we need that as a law, because then we've got something to fall back on when our rights are pissed on, basically.
I agree on that. I meant metaphorically, like we shouldn't need something to say I have rights as a human, but
unfortunately we do, because
because
if we didn't, we'd be
things such as Auschwitz.
We'd be
yes
sat on because we have that, and there's a risk of crime being penalised for not doing something. That hopefully stops most people.
We've got something to reference then, like that is against our human rights because of this, what was made to highlight what rights are.
Mask wise, I still wear a mask, because I think if, like, let's say anti-maskers are right and there isn't a problem, me wearing a mask every day isn't gonna affect anyone. But if you're wrong, me not wearing a mask is going to hurt people. So I personally wear a mask anyway, because it doesn't stop my life it doesn't change my life whatsoever if I'm wearing a mask or not. What I don't like is when somebody goes into a shop with their mask like this. Either wear a mask or don't wear a mask. Don't wear
100% agree.
Get away. Get
100% agree.
Shop. Yeah. So if you're not going to wear a mask, come in not wearing a mask. Don't half do it. That's like me going, oh yeah.
So if the government
I believe
said
in licenses for cars, but I don't have a license. No.
So if the government said to you tomorrow, Michael, that they actually was pointless wearing them and you don't need to wear them, would you still wear one?
Well, I'd look into. Well, I probably wouldn't, but at today, because they're not going to say tomorrow it's not. That is unlikely to happen. My theory is, if it's not affecting you by me wearing a mask, then I'll carry on wearing it.
That's a good question.
I don't mind wearing a mask.
If they said it's affecting your health, though, and you could possibly get bacterial pneumonia, then what would you do then? Would you then wear it for other people, even though it's affecting your lungs?
Yeah. And if I die from something like that, I probably should die anyway. Because if I can die from a mask on my face, then I probably shouldn't do it.
This is something that I definitely spoke about earlier. Mads, I will get to you in 1 second. I want to hear what you have to say about it. Yeah, nothing to say about it.
I mean, I'm all COVIDed out.
Yeah, we're worn out by COVID.
Oh, it's exhausting.
It is.
It is, darling.
Well said, Mads. I love that. In a nutshell, I'm done with it. Exhausting. I just want to say, go on, Mads.
It's just exhausting to even think about anymore.
Right. But this is the thing, Mads. Most people are so exhausted to even think about it. They're just happy to do whatever the government say.
Exactly. That's what they want.
Right. They've worn us down. So I know also with the mask thing that Michael just highlighted, I think it is very respectable for someone to wear a mask if they are ill. There is a culture, I think it's in Japan, where if you're ill, or in China, I'm not sure which one, but they wear the mask to protect others if they know they are ill. It's like a respect thing. And I love that about that culture. Like they are aware that they've woken up with a sore throat. Doesn't stop me going to work. However, I'm letting everybody know I've got a sore throat. I'm contagious. I'm wearing a mask to work. That should stop you guys from getting what I've got. Love that. So I don't see a bad thing of wearing a mask if you're protecting others from what you have. But COVID, like, is it really like the cold or the flu, or, you know, I'm just anti-mask. I just don't like them, and I don't see the point, and I'm just like, whatever.
Things that people are wearing over their faces, and I'm like, how is the air there any different to the air under here? You know, the ones that go like that, like visor type.
If you can wear a mask and you walk past a restaurant and you can still smell the flavour and you can still smell the food, or if somebody goes to the toilet and you walk past the toilet and you can still smell the aroma of the toilet, anything is getting through that. The only thing that will stop you from getting anything is an actual gas mask, and that is a fact. You can look that up yourself. 100%. Studies in Portugal and Denmark have banned them. Portugal and Denmark courts have done studies and have said they do not do anything. And that's why our country is now jumping on board and saying it's up to you whether you want to wear one or not. But they're still using the brainwashing words like use your common sense and take responsibility and use your integrity. Guilt,
why do doctors wear masks?
So a meme that someone shared, and it was like, so you now tell us to use our own our better judgment on whether to wear a mask or something. And this is being told to a country that elected Boris to be our Prime Minister.
We didn't all elect him. But Michael, what would you say?
I said, why do doctors wear masks?
Doctors wear masks so that fluid from their nose or fluid from their mouth, like their saliva, doesn't go on a patient that they're operating on. If you actually go into hospitals pre-COVID, doctors and surgeons were the only people that would actually wear masks in theatre. The nurses and people wouldn't. So
fluids coming out your mouth. So if COVID is a thing, wearing a mask will stop.
Yeah, saliva, like sweat and saliva. So when they're operating on open wounds, so and also from blood squirting on them.
Yeah, but then
wounds, if they're stitching somebody up.
But then when someone walks into the operating room, they always cover their mouth.
Yeah, I think it's like what we said about the Japanese culture, Michael. Like, if you know that you have to be in front of people and contact and all that stuff, like, you just respect that they wouldn't want that on them, right?
Every time I've visited my doctor pre-COVID, they never had a mask on. I've never visited my doctor with a mask on. And when I've gone to hospital with broken toe or had stitches, they've never worn a mask.
I was going to say, if I don't have COVID, I don't have to wear a mask.
I've given birth twice, and on one occasion, on the second time, my waters burst onto the midwife's face, and she did not have a mask on. That wasn't my fault. I didn't know it was happening. I actually said to her, well, what was that? She said, that was just your waters. But there you go. She didn't have a mask on, and she was a midwife. She had gloves on her hand.
Wow.
Some more comments if you want to hear them?
Yeah, let's hear some comments before we wrap this one up, because we are going to be heading over to YouTube, guys, for our next episode. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, get over there, hit the subscribe button, notification as well, so you know when we go live, because we'll be doing our next episode after this one on defunding the police. We're going to revisit that, and also facts matter in reference to Black Lives Matter. We're going to go back and revisit what was so important then and why it's important now that facts matter. But yes, before we do that, go on, Michael. Here's some comments of what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, so Hayley again, thank you for commenting. She said, we also have supposed medical autonomy, and yet I am asked constantly when I'm getting my vaccine. Everyone needs to start asking questions, researching, and standing up for our rights. Wholeheartedly agree with that. The amount of messages I get about vaccines. I'm not getting a vaccine. I may sound like I'm into all this. I am not getting a vaccine. If this kills me, it kills me. I'm not getting a vaccine. I'm against the vaccine.
With you, Michael. 100% agree with you.
But if you want to get the vaccine, that is your choice. I'm not saying don't get it, but I'm personally. And then Christine said, I don't think people should be judged if they choose. So Christine said they shouldn't be judged if they don't get the vaccine. Which, again, like I said, if you don't get it, do get it. That is your right. Just don't try and make me do or don't get it.
Yeah,
exactly.
The risks. Exactly. I'm more fearful of the vaccine than I am the virus. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I love that.
I mean, I'd rather try and fight with my body.
I just want to also say a lot of people don't realise about the yellow card scheme that is out there. So if people, are on the fence about getting the vaccine and they want some more information about it because they don't know, then if you go on the yellow card scheme and the government gov.uk's website, you can actually find out the adverse reactions from the vaccine. So you can actually educate yourselves on what could happen. So because that's not getting promoted and that's not getting told or educated to people or filtered down the line via the media. And I know more people that have been affected by having the shots than I do of COVID.
Yes, exactly. Mainstream media, just be aware that they are trying to push an agenda. They always will. It's never good news. It's always bad news. And
programming.
Right, guys, that is the end of that episode. So we covered child obesity and should parents be held responsible. We also, yes, have our hoodies available. Thank you, Michael. So if you're support of the Elite Thinking Club and you want to get our faces on your body, get yourselves one of our hoodies. You can go to bed with us, Michael, can't they? You can wear us to bed.
And you can buy towels and sheets and pillows and socks.
Cups.
There you go.
Mugs.
Love it.
Coffee flasks.
Love it. Thank you all for the comments as well. It really, honestly, it means a lot when we have people interacting with what we say, because we actually value what you say. There's 4 of us on this panel, but we also care about what you have to say about it. So thank you for all the support. Right, we're now about to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to be live on YouTube, and we're going to be talking about defunding the police again, and also facts matter in relation to Black Lives Matter. So if you're interested and want to know what we're going to be talking about on that episode, then get yourself over to our YouTube channel in 10 minutes and you'll see us there. So from me and all the team, everyone everywhere.
Bye.
Peace and love.
Love.